My parents gave my absent brother full control over their medical decisions while I did all the caregiving. 6 months later, they begged me to come back after he put them in the worst nursing home in the city. My brother James and I had different approaches to family. I showed up every weekend, drove them to appointments, fixed their broken faucets, brought groceries when dad couldn't drive anymore. James lived 3 hours away and called on birthdays. When mom started forgetting things and dad's health declined, we had the conversation. Dad slid the papers across our kitchen table. James will be in charge of everything medical. He's more organized. My name wasn't mentioned once. Mom nodded slowly. James has a better head for these things. He's successful. The next week, James changed all their doctors without consulting me. When I asked why, he said it was more efficient this way. Mom fell and broke her hip 2 months later. I rushed to the hospital. James was on speakerphone from his office making decisions about surgery while I sat next to her bed. The doctor asked about her pain tolerance. James interrupted from the speaker. Just follow the standard protocol. After surgery, I stayed overnight. James visited during lunch breaks. 3 months later, dad had a stroke. I suggested home health aides. James had a different plan. They need professional care. I found a place. The place was Sunset Manor. 1-star reviews, understaffed, smelled like disinfectant and despair, but it was cheap and close to James's office for his monthly visits. They moved in on a Tuesday. I visited that weekend. Mom was sitting in a wheelchair by the window, staring at nothing. Dad was in bed, hadn't been helped to the bathroom in hours. I called James immediately. This place is horrible. They're not getting proper care. His response was cold. You're being dramatic. It's a perfectly adequate facility. They're fine. I started visiting every day, bringing real food because the meals were inedible. 2 months in, mom developed a bed sore. Dad lost 15 pounds because he couldn't feed himself. I called James again. They're deteriorating. This place is killing them slowly. He sighed like I was bothering him. You're being overdramatic. They're elderly. Decline is normal. That's when I made my decision. I stopped calling James. I hired private caregivers with my own money. Better food, proper medication management, physical therapy. 3 weeks later, James got a call from the facility. Your parents are doing remarkably better. Whatever you changed is working. He called me immediately. What did you do? I told him I took over their care. You can't just make decisions without consulting me. I'm their medical power of attorney. I laughed. You haven't visited in 6 weeks. You don't know their doctors' names. You picked this place because it was convenient for you, not because it was good for them. A month later, dad had another stroke. James rushed to the hospital, panicked, asking doctors questions he should have known. What medications is he on? What's his baseline cognitive function? I answered every question. James stood there realizing he knew nothing about his own parents' medical situation. The doctor looked confused. I thought you were the medical power of attorney? James nodded weakly. The doctor turned to me. But you seem to know everything about their care. I smiled. I'm the son who shows up. Dad recovered enough to go home. I moved them out of Sunset Manor that week. James didn't object. Mom passed away peacefully at home 2 years later. Dad followed 6 months after that. James handled the paperwork. I held their hands. At the funeral, people kept thanking James. He looked uncomfortable every time. He knew the truth. Sometimes being in charge on paper doesn't make you the person in charge.